All right, everybody, here's the rest of the syllabus. We got uh, polar coordinates and polar graphs and equations and graphs. So I want to hit on this part of chapter 10 for sure, and then I want to hit on this part here of chapter 11. So polar equations. We're going to make a simple polar equation today. So here's the polar equation that we're going to make. We're going to make it on the calculator first, and then you're going to make it on GeoGebra because it's just way better. And then you're going to submit the GeoGebra one to me like you did the sine curve. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to demonstrate this on the graphing calculator. And I need to change my mode, my graphing mode. Okay, this is the most simplest polar graph there is. So you hit mode, which is right here, and then you go down and you go over to where it says polar. So you go down, 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 over, over, polar, enter. And then when you hit y equals, it looks different. So basically, your input is a theta, and your output is a radius. So your input is an angle, and your output is a radius. So right here is the variable button. So X is what normally pops up when you're in rectangular graphing mode, and then T was when you're in parametric, and then theta, and then N for sequence. So you're going to hit this button right here. All right, so input is an angle and output is a radius. So you're just going to go a radius in, or an angle in, and then the radius comes out. So if you have zero angle, you have zero radius. So as your angle gets bigger, your radius gets bigger. So this is going to make a spiral. And this is called the Spiral of Archimedes. And graph. Well, let me see. Let me do zoom and trig, which is number 7. And there it is. So 0 angle, 0 radius. As your angle gets bigger, the radius gets bigger. So when you're at 2 pi, right, then your radius is 2 pi. So there's, that is 2 pi because that's pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and then 2 pi, because of the way that the units are set up. I'll show it to you. So each step, well, no, yeah, that's what it is. There's the steps right there. And the scale, yeah, the scale is pi over 2, right there. That's pi over 2. Okay. So now we're going to transform this to GeoGebra, and it's going to be a lot more exciting in GeoGebra. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go to geogebra.org again. So www pops up on the computer because I've been there a lot. And log in, and then click on yourself, and then that's all your stuff that you've created, right? And you're going to hit the little waffly thing here. And this is all the different things that you can do. So we're going to go to Graphing Calculator. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do curve, or A equals, move my little thing out of the way, A equals curve, C-U-R. Now, when you start doing curve, the function curve pops up. So we click on it. And then it says expression, parameter, start and stop. So the expression is going to be like the x coordinate to make it go spin around, and then the second expression is the y coordinate to make it spin around. So you're going to put in the theta, okay, but theta is hard to type, so we're going to use t instead of theta. So we type in t, and then we're going to do times, so make sure you hit times, and then you're going to do cosine, and then left parenthesis t. Okay, now put your cursor in here. So see how the cursor is blinking right there? That's good. You want to push yourself over to the right with the arrow and watch closely. The expression, the next expression is going to highlight when we get over there. There we go. Now you're going to do t times sine theta. Whoops. but not theta, t. Okay, so what's going on here is cosine is x over r. So cosine is producing x values, and sine produces y values. So that's how it's going to graph it, because this thing can't graph polar coordinates. We have to trick it into graphing polar coordinates. And this is how we trick it, is we just put our function in front there. So that's like the theta and the other thing. So it's t cosine theta, t sine theta. All right. So the cursor's still blinking, so go over. Now we have to say with respect to t, that's the parameter variable, so I just type in t, push myself over, the next thing lights up, and we're just going to go one trip around the circle. So I'm going to put in 0, and then push the right arrow over again, see how that highlighted in blue, and then you're going to do 2 pi. All right, enter. Make sure you hit enter. All right, and there it is. That's the same thing that we saw on the calculator. Let me move this guy out of the way. There we go. So it starts here, and as theta gets larger, the radius gets larger. Now, that's kind of boring, right? It just does that and then it stops because it's 0 to 2 pi. But what if we did more values of pi? So I'm going to go over to the tools right here, and I'm going to put a slider in here. So we're going to do more values of pi. So click here, and my slider is B, and I'm going to make B start at 1, and the minimum is going to be 1, so I put in 1 there, and the maximum is going to be 10 or whatever you want the maximum to be, and then the increment is going to be, we can mess with that. I think I can do 1 or 0.1. I think I'm just going to do 1. Okay, so I'm going to do pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. So it's going to make it go bigger times around. Click OK. Okay, back to the equation. So I have that slider there. So now I'm going to go to the equation, and I'm going to edit it. So I'll move my little cursor over, and I'm going to hit the back arrow, and I'm going to put in B, and then times, and then enter. Okay, so right now it's just going 0 to pi, so it's only halfway around the circle. So when B is 2, that's 2 pi, go all the way around the circle and make the next part of the spiral. So if I hit play, it's just going to keep making bigger and bigger spirals. All right, but there's a problem here, is we can't really see the spirals because it's gotten so big. So we need to change the amplitude here to make it a little bit smaller. I also don't like the way it's jumping either. So I'm going to go back to the slider here. I'm going to right click on it and change settings, and I couldn't remember what I did before. I'm going to make my increment 0.1 and enter. Make sure you hit enter to change it. Okay, and then we X out, hit the X error. All right, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to change the amplitude. Now remember, how do you change the amplitude of something? Well, you got to change the number in front of sine and the number in front of cosine. So I'm going to click here, and I need it to be smaller, so I'm going to divide. So I think dividing by 8 or something works well. So I'm going to hit divided by 8. Okay, that's going to change the amplitude in the y coordinate, and then I'm going to divide by 8 over here, changing it in the x coordinate. Hit enter, and it's going to make it a lot smaller. There we go. Isn't that cute? Now hit play, and we can watch the spiral of Archimedes get bigger, and it goes around and around and around and around and around and around and around. Okay, and pause. Now we have to save this. It's a reminder of how to do this. So we click the 3 lines over here, and we go to save, and it's going to be called the Spiral,
okay.
S-P-I-R-A-L of Archimedes, A-R-C-H-I-M-E-D-E-S, and I hit save. Okay, now if I go to my stuff, it should be there. So if I go to myself, there we go. There I am. Or I guess I could have clicked up here because it was right there, wasn't it? Could have done this other tab right there. And refresh. There it is, Spiral of Archimedes. So I want you to then right click, or not right click, but hit the three dots, and then share with link. There we go. Nope, that's not what I want. Pause this for a second. Okay, I outfoxed myself for a second. So we're going to click on the three dots, Spiral of Archimedes, and then I was like, where is it? And it's like, oh, share, it's right there. Okay, so we're going to share, copy link. Okay, and then we get rid of that, cancel, and then that's what I want you to share. I want you to share that link with me. I want the link to show up in the Google Classroom. So we have to figure out the best way to do that. So like right here, student work, this is where you had to make the curve here and you have to submit it. So, so turned in, so Brock, he managed to turn his in this way. So that's kind of what I want you to do, is turn it in that way, to turn the link in and turn it into Google Classroom. So see if you can figure out how to do that, like Brock did here, to turn the link into Google Classroom. Because if I click on, because these people emailed it to me, which was fine because that was the instructions. But if I click on theirs, there's no file attached there. So I want it to be attached in here, so I can see it here. So it's all organized instead of in the email, because it's starting to I'm getting too many emails. It's starting to get crazy. So Brock turned it in, and then I can see it, and it works. So if you hit play, so that's how I want to see it, is that way. Okay, so turn it into the Google Classroom thing. And so that's what I want you to do. And then there's going to be more instructions to come on how to do this.